Good evening, everybody. I hope you do. No commercial. No, there's no commercials. I don't have it. I know. 7-Eleven. Oh, yeah. So anyway, so the 3rd of February. No, it's the 2nd of March, is it? It's the 2nd of March. The date's wrong on my computer. I'm really sorry. So apologies. 2nd of March, 2022. This evening, I'm joined. I'm really happy to be joined by a legend. I'm sorry, Steen. You are actually a legend. Steen Pedersen over in Denmark. How are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
That's good.
Looking forward to getting the badminton started in a week's time again.
Are you going to the All England? Have you been travelling much?
I've been traveling probably more than most people the last year here because there was all this big badminton festival in Indonesia. There was the Thomas Cup, Sudirman Cup, Denmark Open and stuff like that. So it hasn't been too bad in 2021. And I'm going to the All England. I'm looking really much forward to it and seeing it with audience back in the arena. That's going to be great.
So were you at the Western in Indonesia?
Yes, I was.
Wow.
I was for the World Tour Finals. For the World Tour Finals only. So we arrived 2 weeks into the overall festival, and but it was still great to get out of Denmark in November and spend some time in Indonesia, even if it was a bit rainy out there as well. Still very, very nice surroundings.
Can you explain that event to me, Steen? I don't really understand that event. It felt like it went on for about a month. What is it?
Yeah. Well, it was, first of all, there was the quarantine. I'm not sure exactly how long it was. I don't think it was too long. And then there was the Indonesia Open as the first tournament. Same venue, the Westin Resort. Next week, Indonesia Masters. It might have been the other way around, that it was the Masters first and then Indonesia Open.
Right.
And those two were the last qualifying events for the World Tour Finals, where it's a group stage and a knockout phase with the 8 best players or pairs. And that was the last week, just before going back home, having 1 week, and then going off to Spain for the World Championships.
It just seemed like all the players seemed to be posting, and it seemed to go on forever. It felt like they were living this dream of a holiday in Indonesia on the beach and the hotel, and pictures of the breakfast, and then they had that massive screen over the swimming pool, and I was just like, oh my god, that's like if going on that holiday when everybody was there. That's like my dream. That's my dream. That is.
I think the players loved it. I really think they did, because that was what they needed. Everything has been locked down. Whenever they played a tournament, there were still some tournaments, but they would have to stay confined in their rooms or the practice hall, going by buses on a straight schedule. So that just came in at the right place, the Indonesia Badminton Festival, and it was very well arranged by the Indonesia Federation, and I think everybody was happy with the competition.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So, if it's okay, what I'm really interested in is about you and your badminton, and where it started. I'm always interested in that. You're an amazing statistician, and to me, you are like a legend of badminton commentary. To be honest with you, I think you've got such a scientific nature, and I've done a bit of research, and I tried to think, how did Steen get to this position where you're such an amazing statistician? I think between you and Jill and Morton, you've got it down, right? I think you've got all the science of the stats of who played against who, and you've obviously just got. I did a bit of research, and you're obviously a scientist, right? You're a chemist, is that right?
I'm a chemist originally.
So that's a science. I think that's the science in you. I think that's the science in you.
Every person has some special talents, and I like to research stuff.
Yeah, really.
So does Jill, and Jill, she's been there. She was even commentating when I was coaching. So she's a bit ahead of me in terms of the stats and the facts and figures. But I still think it's fun, and I think there's a lot to read from it. And I also feel that it sometimes gives the viewers it should
It does.
enhance their experience. I love American football,
Yeah.
and everything is about stats in that game, because I mean, how would you know who's done well? And I think it's also part of the story. If you don't know who's been great, then how can you rate the efforts of Lindan, Lee Chong-wei, Taufik, Chen Hong, Morten Frost, Paul-Erik Højer, and Chun Chun, Bayudi, and all the great stars? How can we have a discussion if we don't know what they won? So that's why I feel that's really, really important.
And how well do you call it, Steen? How well do you think you can call it? Do you must see somebody coming onto a form and thinking almost like a bookie, if you like, a bookie, like looking at a form and saying that guy's, Low Keen when just came on and won. Did you see that coming?
No. I would love to say I thought he was going to be the world champion, but I don't. I thought he was going to lose to Victor Axel in the first round, but obviously the way he played there, it was quite clear that he was in with a chance of going far in the tournament. But I obviously think that, being a person that has watched far too many badminton matches in his life, I feel that with a little bit of help, I could easily beat the bookies. I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna be messaging you before the All England.
Well,
yeah.
Well, we're not allowed to discuss it with anyone. That's
really?
against the integrity rules. If you ask me, who do you think is going to win this match, I can't tell you.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So the BWF has quite some strict rules about the integrity and against match fixing and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's tough. Yeah.
And
it's not only tournaments that we cover as commentators or coaches. It's basically all badminton matches. So we're not allowed to give advice, so to speak.
What do you mean? Sorry, what do you mean? Sorry, what do you mean, Steen? When you said you can't. It's not just tournaments. What else is there? I suppose just what club play are you talking about, that kind of thing.
If that's on the bookie list, we can't comment on who we think is going to win.
I see. So tell me about you and badminton. Tell me, did you grow up playing what?
Yeah, I grew up playing. Started when I was 7 in my hometown club, and then after high school, I switched club. I wasn't really good. I became better in my second club. It was a much more progressive club, and that's pretty much where I have my badminton education, and that's where I spent. Did you say
after high school, Steen?
After high
school.
So
what age were you there?
I was 18 or 19
wow.
when I switched from my childhood club.
Really?
I started putting a lot more effort into it. Perhaps I should have put more effort into my chemical studies, but it went the other way around. So I spent a lot more time playing badminton and reached a national level. Never played internationally. And whilst I was studying, I found out that it was fun coaching the younger players in the club. And then one thing led to another, and I just followed that path.
Like what age are you talking when you say younger players? You were obviously 18 when you first started in that other club. How young would younger players would have been when you were coaching them?
They would be from 7 to 8 years old.
Isn't that interesting?
Up to 16.
So interestingly, you almost kind of vicariously kind of wish that you'd probably played up to that level, and you maybe felt invested in it. Is that how you felt when you were, when you're 18, you're teaching kids of that age? You maybe thought.
Yeah. I just felt it was an easier way to earn a bit of pocket money than cleaning stairs and stuff like that. Then I had 2-3 very good mentors in the club that I could learn from, and that's basically been the key throughout my whole career as a coach. That I've never coached alone. I've always had someone besides me, so that we could challenge each other and learn from them and pick the best parts and so on. So that's been a great experience for me to be together with someone in the coaching.
And what is it? Do you think I mean, it's quite interesting to me. So in the UK, badminton is a, I would say it definitely is a minority sport. Where you'll have when you're at school and when you're growing up, when you're at school, if you play badminton, it's a little bit quirky, it's a little bit different. They're always pushing you in the UK for whether down south it'll be cricket or in Scotland it's always rugby. There's football right across the UK. And what is that like in Denmark? Is badminton so mainstream that it is the norm where everybody goes with their friends to badminton, like everybody goes to football in the UK? Do you think?
Yeah, it used to be when I was young, but we've actually just had a show, three episodes in television with one of the most popular Danish comedians who's made a show that's named "Make Badminton Great Again."
Really?
And he feels that the Danish badminton players is not really getting the recognition they deserve compared to when he was young, and he's a little younger than me, but it's normally the same age. The 80s era with Morten Frost reaching the All England final and stuff like that.
So he thinks there's a dip. He thinks there's a dip in the popularity.
He thinks there's a dip in popularity, but I think it's a common development. It's still very popular in Denmark, and it gets a lot of interest. We have a TV broadcasting station that is broadcasting all the tournaments on the World Tour. We're very fortunate about that. That wasn't the way it was back when I was a youngster. We were lucky if we got to see the All England final. So I guess the media picture has changed an awful lot over the years, and it has helped badminton, but it also sort of disrupted the interest. When Morten Frost won the All England, everybody knew it because it was the only thing going on the one channel that we had in television. Now we have like loads of channels, so people don't watch the same thing, and that's just the difference in the media picture. We have the players nowadays, they have all kinds of social media. I think it's really, really great. We see Victor Axelsen learn Chinese, and Mathias Christiansen speaks Bahasa. Vittinghus is studying Bahasa as well. So they understand the importance of sort of giving something back to their fans. I mean, the money they don't come for free. You have to give something back, some content of value, and I think at the moment badminton is at a great stage in Denmark, and I just hope that we can develop on from that from where we are now.
Oh, and what do you think the future is of that, Steen? About people, about retirement from badminton, and what career path? I've noticed I've actually had a look online. There's a really great presentation you did all about your coaching, and it went through stages of everything. It was really interesting. I actually share it. I really liked it. But what do you think about a career in badminton looks like? When does somebody start? When do they? How do you think somebody nowadays in this modern day creates a financial stability for themselves? Do you think? How does that's the golden question, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if financial stability is the ultimate goal, but I think there's different ways. Some start. I think most people start because they think it's fun. I started playing badminton because I thought it was fun, and I think also we see some youngsters creating content on the internet, and I think it's because they think it's fun. That's the same, I guess, with coaching. And if you don't think it's fun, I think there's much better ways to make a living, because if you don't think it's fun working with badminton or in the badminton world, then I don't think you become good enough at what you do.
I agree. I'm a great believer that money is a byproduct of what we do, and it isn't what we do. I think when people go, people think about the money so much they forget about, I'm in sales, and I just believe if you do a good job, money just happens. If you look at talented and very rich people, they start with a talent which they love and they're good at. It doesn't start with somebody, I want to make that much money. It always starts with talent.
No, exactly.
I'm a great believer in that. So tell me about your chemistry. Where did that come from?
Well, I didn't really know what I wanted to do after school, and so I got good grades in chemistry, and I thought it was fun looking at things change color. So I thought that maybe if I had to choose something, then why not? And then I found out quite quickly that it wasn't really as fun as I thought, and things sometimes change to the wrong color for me. So it wasn't a big success, and I think there's a lot of people that are grateful that I never really got a job in the chemistry business.
Absolutely. So it wasn't like you thought, I want to be a chemical engineer, I want to make whatever. It was just one of them things. I mean, I think it's like that. Badminton's like that, isn't it? A lot of people would say, I played badminton. I was at school, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. The only thing I knew that I loved was badminton. That's what the most common story is, right?
Exactly. It was an exclusion of things. Could I do this? No. Could I do that? Definitely not. And then in the end, chemistry was there, and it helped me pursue badminton even more. So I'm great. In many ways, I'm grateful for it, but most of all, that I never got a job.
And can I ask you what your parents? Can I ask you over that time what your parents were thinking?
At least what I think they were thinking was, and I think maybe they still do, when does he ever get a real job? Because the first question you're asked in Denmark when you're at a party is, what do you do? And I say, I'm a badminton coach. And then the next question is, but what's your real job? And I say, it is my real job. And then they ask, can you live on that? And then I say, no. So that's basically how it's been. But on the other hand, I've been fortunate to be able to work in an area that I love, and that's a blessing. There's some days where it's rainy and cold and you don't want to go, but I guess there's that in every job.
And what's you're a coach. I've interviewed a lot of coaches that are interested in coaching people of all different standards. What's your preference? Do you like to play with it? Do you like to coach elite players? Do you like to coach one-on-one? Do you like to coach juniors? What do you think of that?
I like to coach elite players one-on-one.
Yeah.
That's the best thing. That's the most fulfilling, because you're so close that you can hopefully invoke results over a shorter period of time. But most of the coaching that goes on at the moment is team coaching, and hopefully of elite players. That's what I'm mostly interested in at the moment. I have been coaching young players. I don't mind doing it, but my main interest at the moment is with the elite players. That's where I feel I can use my experience the best way.
And how do you feel about I'm quite interested in the subject of players having this kind of I don't know how to describe it. If a player people think this golden eye thing about somebody, he did this and he did that. How do you think about somebody? There's a coach in Scotland who does really, really well as a national coach, and he's never played. At an early age, at about 20, he realised, I really thought I was going to be a better coach probably than I was ever going to be a player. And he's done really, really well, right? I mean, all the Scottish national players who were to called Andy Cook. He's a great, great friend of mine. He's one of my first people I interviewed. But he's a coach who's very well respected. He's a high performance coach. And he coaches all levels, really, but he only accepts people that are committed, right, to properly commit to the physical, and he's quite a hardcore coach. Yeah. I've interviewed several people who, how do you feel about being coached by somebody that hasn't done this? And some people think that, you see the head coach, and they think, oh, he's done this and he's done that, I want to be as good as him, because I interviewed Adam Hall, and was it Adam Hall? No, it wasn't. It was Martin Campbell. And he was coached by Kenny Middlemas in Scotland, but back in the day before he started, and Kenny had achieved the highest point that he wanted to get to. So he wanted to get to that bit, and when he was coached with him, he wanted to play with him, he wanted to get a bit where he could beat him, kind of thing. What do you think of that? How do you find that within younger players and within the athletes? Do they come to you and just trust you implicitly, or do you think you have to have? What do you think of that? Do you think you have to have achieved yourself, or do you think it helps, or what do you think of that subject?
Well, I think you can have really, really good coaches, and it doesn't really matter whether you've been a strong player yourself or a more recreational player. But if you take 10 players that have never played at a high level and 10 players that have played at a high level, I think you will see more great coaches from the bunch that has played themselves. But a famous coach that has never played at a high level is Harry Piangadi, the Indonesian men's doubles coach. He's never played at a high level, but we can see that more and more coaches have been within the sport. And I think it's totally into the individual, the attitude. If you feel that having played is a big advantage, if you don't do the hard work, then you might not get there, but you have something that's it's not for free because you worked for it early on, but you can definitely feed off your playing experience. But there's a lot more to coaching than that, and that you have to pick up on the side, so to speak.
And then what kind of coach are you? A very physical coach? Are you quite demanding physically? What would your players think?
Look at me.
No. I'm talking about
that is my worst. That is my worst area. That's the physical part.
But as far as I'm more talking about onto your players. You know, onto your players onto people that you coach. You know, how physically, how are you quite a you understand what I'm saying? Do you demand a lot of the players or are you very technical?
Yes, I do. Well, I think that is suited to the individual player. I think I'm really good at suiting things to the individual. Some players needs a bit more on the physical part, and some of it I can do, and some I reach for help by experts, and some players needs a more technical approach, and there I'm definitely able to help them out. So I feel I can coach all aspects of it and all categories. I know where I have my strengths, and I like to use them, of course. But at the moment, I feel I see some of the uploads on video is mostly players doing physical stuff.
Yes, I know.
And I feel there's a lot of players that could benefit from doing a little bit more technical stuff than the physical stuff.
I agree. There's an obsession with muscle memory, I see it over and over and over again, and it becomes quite, to me, sometimes I think it just can't help but be predictable. I can't help but think that.
Mm. Yeah.
There just seems to be so much of a running let's see how long we can make the rally last. And, what was the event recently where they were talking about the shuttles being slow? I think Hans Vertingers was talking about that.
In all 2021, they've been slow
Really?
all over the shuttles. Yeah, they have.
And is that a purposeful thing, do you think?
No, I don't think so. But it's happened. I don't know the reason. You'll have to dig more into it to figure out how that comes. But so far they've been slow in 2021. I think from the matches I've seen on a club level here in Denmark and Danish nationals and some of the matches from India where I was at home with COVID, I feel it looks like the shuttles are getting a little bit faster, hopefully, this year here, because there's some categories that benefit from a little bit slower shuttles, but some that suffer a lot.
Why do you say that? How can they benefit from it?
I think men's doubles become more interesting with a little bit slower shuttles, not too slow, so that we end up clearing, which we've seen. We've seen clearing rallies in men's doubles in 2021. That's not interesting in my opinion, at least not if it goes on and on. But it becomes more than a service situation game, and unfortunately, it's not good if it's too slow shuttles for women's doubles. For instance, the rallies become extremely long, and it becomes a lot of a tactical game where you have to sort of like act like a boxer, and you go and jab and jab and jab and look for the opening, try and see if the opening creates a big opening. If that's not the case, then you go back and look for a new one and stuff like that. So a little bit faster shuttles is amongst my Christmas wishes for 2022.
Really, and tell me about going back to your badminton. Do you play club badminton?
Not at all.
Really? Why?
First of all, there's too many kilos on the legs, so I don't dare to do it, and I don't think it's fun.
Really?
I'm sort of become too weak, so I still remember how I could play. It wasn't fantastic, but it was still national level in Denmark.
Yeah, for sure.
I just don't want to do it. I would like to play golf.
Really?
Instead, and do other stuff, but no more badminton.
And do you play golf?
I've seen so many practice sessions in the hole. I don't need any more badminton.
Yes, I know. I can't help it. Whenever I go and watch the All England, you always come back with a full of vigor. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. It falls. Always fails. Always fails. It's. I could imagine. I wanted to ask you, go back to that question about coaching and going back to the scientific nature of your brain and how you analyze games and analyze your scientific nature. I presume that when you're playing, when you have I can imagine you as a coach being exceptional at knowing when one of your players is about to compete and you know a draw, right? So I guess you would analyze the game of the competitor that your player was playing against, right? And that's something you will do, right? And you'll know the weaknesses, you'll know their strengths, you'll know how to push.
If it's a known player, I would definitely be interested in how they're playing and what previous knowledge I have. But whether I would convey that to my player, that depends on the situation. I've had players who could handle it, and I've also had players that could not handle it, where need to focus more on their game and what they're going to do. And I've also had players who like to watch video of their opponents. I've also had players that doesn't want to watch video of their opponents, because what happens if you show them a video where the opponent is winning? So you get a picture of the opponents being really strong.
Yes.
That could be detrimental. On the other hand, if you show them a video where their opponent is losing, then they might go in too easy on the task. So that's about knowing the player well. So just doing this sort of like random coaching where you don't know the player that you're coaching that well. If we get a new player in the club I'm coaching back home here in Denmark, it takes some time before I learn how to coach the player, and it's also dynamic because it changes according to where that player is in terms of mood, in terms of performance, in terms of are we trying to put some new things into the game and stuff like that. So that's really what's so interesting about badminton, that there's so many different factors that you need to sort of get to work in the right direction, and you need to be able to change your coaching attitude alongside that.
Yeah, it's an amazing science, and I guess that's part of why you love it. And who do you think is the best? I suppose, who do you think is the best all-round player? And in these, I guess it's hard to say, isn't it? There's so many. I watch. I'm quite interested. I watch a lot of the Danish players, right? And there's definitely an element of the Dane and the Asian competing is such a massive competition. It just feels like it's a real kind of and sometimes when I watch the Danes, I watch Hans and I watch Victor and I watch Anders, and they have a Viking in them. They're literally getting off the boat, really fighting. Where I watch the Asians and I still see them laugh. I still see them smile and they enjoy it. And I wonder how much is affected by that. There's some people that I was going to talk to you about that as well. There's some people that give away a lot in aggression and getting angry and getting really, really passionate. And then there are the alternative. Conversely, there are players that give nothing away in their face. And like for me, that person that gives nothing away in their face is my idea of hell. What do you think of that? Yeah.
Well, I think it's very individual. I think you've got to, as a player, stay true to who you are as a person. So if you want to come out with your joy or your frustration, then that's the way you do it. But the thing is that we've been sort of persuaded to believe that if you show anger or joy, then you cannot perform in the next rally.
Really?
But the thing is, there's some players that can do that, so we shouldn't limit them. And I've been trying to limit players like that.
To give less away? Is that what you're thinking? Give less away.
Stay in the zone, in the performance zone. Don't get overexcited or get over angry. Just stay in there. But I think it's about being true to yourself and being focused and being able to refocus in the next rally, and then you could basically do whatever you like. There's a clear preference amongst commentators and TV viewers for the more where you carry your feelings on your sleeve, so to speak. Yeah,
definitely. It definitely makes better viewing.
They're more liked. Yeah, it's fun viewing. I mean, I grew up waiting to see John McEnroe explode in tennis and damage some of the A-boards or the plants next to the court. But I also grew up with Bjorn Borg, who was calm and collected and went about his business. And I think there's different ways of doing it. You just have to realize you have to be self-aware. That's basically one of the key words, to be self-aware and find out what works for you.
Yeah, amazing. And how big is sorry, I'm flicking backwards and forwards here a little bit, but again, going back to Danish coaching, what does your team look like? I mean, how many people can consist in a team? To coach what kind of team do you have? Nutritionists, do you have psychologists, do you have physical coaches, do you have yourself, do you have technical coaches? How big is that infrastructure? What do you have at your resource, if you like?
In the Danish national team?
Yes.
Yeah, you pretty much named it. Nutritionists, psychologists, sports psychologists, masseurs, doctors, physiotherapists, personal coaches, personal managers.
Wow.
In the end, it becomes a little bit more of a leadership issue than a coaching issue, and that can sometimes be challenging because you often hire people for their coaching skills and not for their leadership skills. But it's actually very important.
Yeah. What's the personal manager aspect? What's I guess like Victor will have a manager, I suppose, and so you a coach has to communicate things through a manager. Is that?
Yeah, it's becoming more and more common in Denmark that you have if it's not a designated manager, then you have a actual manager, one that works pretty much, or an advisor that you trust. When you're a top player, you basically want to distance yourself a little bit from the others. If you do the same practice as all the others do, then how can you become better?
Wow.
So it's nice to have someone who can make you feel a little bit special, and that you're doing things that the others don't do, that can sort of separate you from the rest of them. And I think all top players has some persons in the background that they trust a little bit more, that they discuss things with, and even if they're not in the front line, so to speak, and you talk to them as a coach, it's quite important that you know what are the relationship and what are the inputs that you get from those persons, because it can be either way. Some are very positive figures, but others can be a little bit detrimental, and you have to balance that as well.
So is it conceivable that there is a meeting of a group of people, including a player's manager, without the player being in the room?
That was not the case when I was coaching. I don't know if that's the case right now. I don't think it is.
Yeah, it's just.
But we might get to that. I think definitely that that players in the or persons in the administration are experiencing these things, because it's a full-time job to be a world-class player.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I suppose the psychologist would say, let's not bother them with that bit. Let's not bother them. Let's just let them play, and we'll deal with all that. And that's what a manager does, right? We'll deal with all that. We'll deal with the money. We'll deal with transport. We'll deal with coaches and relationships and personalities. And you just let them just play. Let them play, and and they're trusted to do that. I suppose that's got to happen, isn't it? It's good.
Again, very individual. Some players like to be in on all the details, whereas others, they don't really care that much about that. So it's different from player to player, and also from, advisor or manager to the other advisor or manager. How do you like to do things?
Yeah, amazing.
But it's a bigger amount of people that you're going to have to sort of navigate than previously in the days when I was youngster, where it was just the player himself or herself that was doing the things and arranging practice with another player and stuff like that.
Yeah. And do people still play? I mean, what is it? These professional players, the elites that you play with, I guess they coach all day long, and they don't do. Is it all day long? I mean, do they have an evening? Is there still club play goes on as well as elite play?
There's some club play in Denmark, and some clubs like the elite players to show up for club practice. Others are more liberal on that. That also depends. The national center is in Copenhagen, so if you play in a club far away, then you obviously don't show in the weekly practices. Maybe you do some extra practice when you're in the area, when you're in Aarhus, which is 3 hours away by car, or stuff like that. But it's a full-time job. It should be all day if you really want to make it into the top 10, 15 in the world.
Well, listen, thank you for your time. I'll let you get on with your evening. I've been on for like 50 minutes. I could talk to you all night, I'll be honest with you. It could be. But so we're friends now, and hopefully we can speak again, if that's okay. I'd love that. And, as things, and hopefully it'll be nice to meet you maybe for a pint in All England. I'm going down Wednesday, I think Wednesday to Friday. So maybe I'll send you a message and we'll...
That's when we're commentating, so...
You'll be busy.
I don't know if I can do that. Maybe.
What? You're not allowed to.
A little bit too liberal.
Are you not allowed to go after us?
Oh yeah, we are.
Yeah, good. I'll be in touch to say hello. Okay, anyway. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks. I really appreciate it, and we'll speak again soon, Steen. Have a good evening. Take care. Thank you. Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.